Hey guys, I just want to say that if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm a small content creator and could really use your support. I live stream 100% of the gameplay for games that I review, and I'm also always trying to keep up with the big named movies that are being released. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can do so through PayPal, or even better yet, you can get yourself some merch from my Teespring store. If you want to get better connected, you can do so through the social links in the description below, and please do consider joining the Discord. If you do, you can voice chat with me through my headphones while I live stream, and you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. That's all I've got, guys. I hope that you really enjoy the video. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike, and this is...
The other Mike.
And this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and today we are taking a trip to Gotham City in the After Action review of The Batman. So, as always, guys, we are going to start off with the production of this movie. Before we get started with that, though, I do just want to say, last time I did a review of a movie was with Mr. Brownigan, and we did the retro action review for Power Rangers 2017. In that review, I had a problem with my printer, and I did not print off my notes, so I had them on my computer screen, which is over here. And I had some people watch that, and they said that they actually really liked me without the, the actual notes in my hand. So we're doing that again today. Let us know in the comments down below if you like that better, or if you would like me to go back to having the notes in my hand. So, okay, so this movie anyway has 3 production companies. We have Warner Bros., which is most well known for The Dark Knight in 2008. Did you see that one? And you liked that movie?
Christian Bale is by far, so far, pending, probably the best Batman that I ever seen, and I love the trilogy of those. Those were well done movies. So
Okay.
just
Okay. No, and I really agree. I think that for so many people nowadays, the new generation, those movies are the Batman. You know, everybody liked Michael Keaton when it first came out and stuff, but for the new generation, it's Christian Bale. So, so that was 2008, and then most recently they did Kimmy, which is a movie that actually had Zoe Kravitz in it. Who is Selena Kyle in this movie, but that was in 2022. The other production, so 2 more production companies. We have Sixth and Idaho Productions. They're most famous for their movie Mother/Android in 2021, and then they also did a movie Away in 2020. I haven't seen any of those. I don't know if you have. Stop me if
no.
you've seen anything. You want to make a comment. So
I will.
then we've got DC Comics. And they did The Dark Knight in 2008, and then also Suicide Squad in 2021. What did you think of Suicide Squad? Did you see that?
I never even read the comic books with Suicide Squad, but I liked it. I liked the humor, and it kind of it was a good mix and stuff like that. You know, you kind of seen a whole different angle there. I really did like that movie. That was really
now, just to verify, we're both talking about the Suicide Squad that came out in 2021. You're not talking about the one with Will Smith, are you?
I was thinking the one with Will Smith, which I did like, but you're talking about the most recent one with John Cena.
John
That was
Cena.
pretty good.
Yes.
I thought that was pretty good. It was I thought it was pretty funny. I really very, very humorous film compared to the other one, which I thought was a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
But this one was good too. I liked it.
So I'll tell you the truth. We can agree to disagree, and that's okay. I think that there are certain aspects of the original Suicide Squad movie that were okay and everything, but I think I didn't like that movie as a whole. Okay, too much. I would say that it was probably like an average movie. There were some problems with certain things. But then I absolutely loved the Suicide Squad, the newest one. I think they did great. That movie was so good that they launched a series about John Cena's character. I forget what his name is. It's not
Oh,
the Patriot. The Peacemaker. Peacemaker. So Peacemaker on HBO Max. Yeah.
he's got that real long pistol.
Yeah, yeah, and he actually he got his own show, but it's a very adult show. So not I don't think like nudity and stuff, but they have swearing, gore. He kills people, stuff like that. So
Yeah, I started watching it and it got a little bit
too much.
too much for me, and
And you've watched Game of Thrones, right? You liked that?
I didn't watch the Game of Thrones. I have
Oh,
not
okay.
watched.
That one also, I was gonna say, because that one's also gory and it has some nudity and stuff. I was gonna say, if you watch Game
Right.
of Thrones,
Yeah.
it's around same kind of thing. Like it's just very adult. So,
Hmm.
okay, so from that, so Sixth and Idaho Productions, I think is primarily, it's like a newer production company. It's primarily done series, and then Warner Bros. And DC Comics. So Warner Bros. Owns DC Comics. That's why everything with DC comic characters is from Warner Bros.
Right.
But so we do have basically production companies coming together here that are pretty good. The DCEU kind of was a failure, and so now they're trying to relaunch a bunch of stuff with that. But they do have some good guys in their production company, so that was nice. So then we have the writers. So there are two writers. This was written by Peter Craig, who is most well known for his movie The Town in 2010. He also did most recently the movie The Unforgivable in 2021, which actually my wife watched. It's on Netflix. It has Sandra Bullock, and she says that it was good, but it was not great. The Town I've heard is really good. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that's really good.
Unforgivable, is that where she takes the rap for?
Yes.
Yes, I like that. That was a good movie. I don't know if it was, I wouldn't know say it was great, but it was worth watching and maybe watching it again. Yeah.
So my wife said that there were some things about the writing that were a little off, not terrible, but just a little off. But then Sandra Bullock really pulls out some great acting skills in that movie. So
She did. She played. I thought she played out a character, like a different character than she has in the past, because she's kind of does the same character, but that one was not.
Right, and I love seeing that in movies, and we do get some of that here. So I'm really excited to talk about that.
Exactly.
After I saw this movie, actually today, as I was preparing to do these notes, preparing my notes and doing this review, I told my wife, I said, now what we need is Adam Sandler to be a serial killer in a movie, like a very serious serial killer movie or something, or like a mobster, but like a very serious mobster, not like a joke thing, because I love seeing actors play parts where it's like they're usually like a goofy guy or they're very serious and then they have to switch roles. So
right, you're right, we do have that a couple times in this movie with some people I saw, and I'm like, hey, that guy's more of a comedian and he's playing a real serious part. So
yeah. 1 second here, could you put your hands up like this again? Let me see, because I'm seeing. So we're just a second, just for everybody in the audience. This is like a real quick thing. We're doing a Zoom call, and every time that you put and it's fine, you can keep doing it. But every time you put like your hands up in the corner of Zoom, it shows like a little like thumbs up thing. I don't know what's up with that, but anyway. So if you see that, that's what that is. I'm not doing that.
Right
Zoom does that automatically. Okay, so
all that, and they didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So just for everybody watching. But anyway, okay, so then the second writer on this, so pretty, I would say Peter Craig, a solid writer. The Unforgivable, is all right. It was a pretty good movie. The thing is it's a Netflix movie, and it comes to like budget and how much you're really gonna do for like a Netflix stuff. Some of the Netflix stuff is hit or miss, so depending on how they did that. But then the other writer is actually also the director, and Matt Reeves, and he wrote and directed Let Me In 2010. Which is really good. I forget the name of the main actress. It's about a little girl who's a vampire, and she's hundreds of years old, but she's a vampire, and she befriends a little boy who I believe he lives in like an abusive home or something like that. But she's like a vampire, and it's the girl from the movie Kick-Ass. Have you seen that? Or if you've seen the Netflix movie Brain on Fire, I forget her name. So she's in Let Me In, and I heard that was a really good one. I haven't watched the whole thing. I've seen parts of it and stuff, but and then also he wrote and directed War for the Planet of the Apes in 2017. That's his most recent movie, and yeah, I mean, and then he directed this and also wrote for it. So you have a really kind of solid writer and director. Crew coming out, and then as we talked about, the production companies are pretty solid as well. So I was very excited when I saw that. I was like, that's where some of this stuff comes from, because the writing and the directing and production and everything for this was pretty good. So
But he's a fresh writer when it comes to any like a Batman. I mean, it isn't like they brought back people like from the Matrix one. This,
yeah, so yeah, so the writer and director team here, they're all new. As we talked about, like the production companies behind this, the producers and executive producers have been part of the Batman and stuff. But yeah, the writer and director team here is all new, the whole new cast of characters and stuff. Although Selena Kyle, I believe, let me see what her name is because I suck with remember. Yeah, Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz actually auditioned. There's a story about how she auditioned for Catwoman in the Dark Knight Rises movie.
okay.
And, yeah, and she actually did not get picked for that. There's like a media controversy about it, but we don't have to get into that. But yeah, so she tried, but they went a different direction, and so now she got it for this one though. So good for her.
I think she did some voices for Catwoman too, if I'm not mistaken. When I was reading,
Zoe Kravitz did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so then let's move on to
or Spider-Man. I think it was maybe it was Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was Spider-Man. I'm sorry, I didn't say Batman, Spider-Man.
No, that's cool. Those are the two most popular comic book characters in the world. So, okay, well, let's move on to the plot then. So, as always, we have our IMDb plot summary here, and it is as follows. When the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement. So, pretty short little summary here, but I would say that actually fully encapsulates, without spoilers, what everything is here. And I think, yeah, like, what did you think of just we've done this before. What did you think of the plot?
Well, I like the fact. Okay, so I was talking to my wife about it, and we were talking about the Riddler. The last time the Riddler, I'm trying to keep it within so we don't give away anything, was John Kerry when he played the Riddler.
Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey.
John Kerry. He's a former senator. Okay, yeah. Jim Carrey played the Riddler, and but this one, the main villain, I don't think I'm giving away, is the Riddler. I mean,
yeah. That's already been. I mean, that's out in the public and everything. So yeah. So the main villain is the Riddler.
So I like that because I think that this is the first time we've had a Batman movie with the Riddler's kind of the main villain, the main focus.
Right, and by himself, because when they did it with Jim Carrey, they also had Two-Face.
Yeah,
and that was fine, but I'm just saying that like the Riddler and Two-Face kind of were equal parts bad guy. Here it's just the Riddler, so it's really cool. So I have some things that I want to note here. So we have, for one thing, is that it skips Batman's origin story. That's what I forgot. That's what I forgot to check. Can you look up how long this movie is? Because I forgot to write that down. But it skips Batman's origin story. And that is great, actually, because we get the origin story so many times. Even in the Christian Bale movies, we kind of got the Christian Bale movies, Batman Begins was Batman's origin story. And I like the way that they kind of incorporated that. But then in all of the animated stuff you see, all of the TV shows, all of the movies, they always kind of like go back all the time about his origin story. And here they basically they basically start off with, it's like, look, you know who the Batman is, we know who the Batman is. We've got a lot of things to get through here, and we're not going to talk about that anymore because everybody already knows. Did you find the runtime?
It was 176 minutes, so that's 2 hours and about 17 minutes.
Yeah, so 2 hours and 17 minutes of movie, and actually, no, it's longer than that. You said 276, 60,
No,
60,
no,
60.
176.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
170. So it's like 2.5 hours, basically.
Yeah, you thought with all the advertisements at the start.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost a 3 hour movie, and all of it is on, and I appreciate this, all of it is on stuff that you want to see. Like, how do I explain this without spoilers? Like, all of it is stuff that is like, I wish that there was this movie could have gone on for longer, and I still would have been like, man, keep it coming. It's like when
Well,
we talked about Dune,
mhm,
and we talked about how Dune,
yeah.
like when you see a long movie, they're usually either really bland and boring, or they're so good. And this could have been a 4 hour movie, and I would have been like, okay,
I agree with you, but I think Doom kind of stopped abruptly compared
yeah,
to this one. I think this was a we use military. This was a tactical pause because I
right,
think I think they got a couple. What I looked at, they have a couple more sequels coming up, and
yeah,
I think a series on HBO too, which makes sense if they. I mean, if it all works out for them, but I
yeah.
mean, I don't see why that wouldn't happen after seeing the movie.
Yeah, I'm excited for for a sequel. This is going to be good. So I was happy about the anyway. So I was happy about them skipping Batman's origin story. We didn't need to go through that, and then everything that we did get as far as screen time was all substantive things we want to see. Not really a whole lot of
Hmm.
filler, which is great. That's great. That's what movies should be.
Hmm.
This was a crime noir, and I just want to read the definition for this. I went and looked it up. According to Wikipedia, which everybody says is maybe not the most accurate, but I think that they nailed this definition here. Crime noir is fiction. Okay, so noir fiction is a subgenre of crime fiction. In this subgenre, right and wrong are not clearly defined, while the protagonists are seriously and often tragically flawed. And I think that that is like exactly what this movie is. So this is
Oh, yeah.
exactly like a crime noir. We have a flawed Batman, and they get into some of his flaws and the way that he is, and stuff like that. Like almost as if he, like in the comics, because in the past that hasn't really been so present. We'll talk about them more into character. But then
Right.
also like that, it gets into the underbelly of Gotham City, and it is yeah, like it starts to muddle like what is right, what is wrong type of thing. So I
Right.
really like that. I also put this is a detective story with actual detective work and lots of clues and CSI type elements.
Hmm.
They even have some like real undercover work for Batman and some of the good guys here. Excuse me. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed seeing that again, following more of the kind of comic books. Because in the comic books, DC comic books is Detective Comics because they started with Batman and
Right.
he's the world's greatest detective, and he really
Hmm.
does like CSI detective work stuff, and then he also
Hmm.
will end up beating up some people, but most for the most part he's working with police. So I really enjoyed that, which is different. We got a little bit of that in the Christian Bale stuff, and then I don't think we got very much of it in the Michael Keaton movies. And as far as there actually being like real detective CSI work, so that was cool.
Right. And
Uh,
this was an intense set of time. I mean, compared to the other Batmans, they were a long like history. This
mm-hmm.
one was like a chapter because at the time I don't think I'm giving away, but the time period's very short, very
Right.
intense. And there's a lot of things that have to be done quickly, and I don't think I'm giving it away. But
Oh no, I get no, I and I, no, no, no. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, because if you think about like Batman Begins, it starts off like even if you just consider from the time that he comes and actually is the Batman in that movie, and it really starts getting with the Batman, it's
right,
like weeks. It doesn't say in the movie, but it's like weeks or even months of him being the Batman in the city, and then
hmm,
it's yeah, okay, I get what you mean there.
right.
Um,
This is a microwave Batman. I mean, he's ready to go.
yeah,
Bam.
this whole thing probably takes place over what, a week or something, week or two, or something like
Yeah.
that. Um,
Hmm.
so
But I
there's
like what
that.
you said
Oh,
about the detective thing. I think that is like a key to watching this. Is that the whole idea of
the,
it does go back to the comic books being a detective and I thought about now if you're this is might be dating myself, but there's a kind of an element of the Zodiac killer or the murderer that used was there was a
uh-huh.
with Riddler. I seen this, and I'm not giving it away, but I think that's what makes it intriguing, very
Right.
exciting to watch.
Yeah, definitely the setup here, and I get into the. I put some notes down a little later as far as character and stuff, but Yeah, definitely the setup here is if you like crime genre stuff, this is for you. Like, I mean, really, even if you're not into superheroes, you could watch this as a crime person and you'd be kind of on the edge of your seat here because, that's what the Batman, at least from the comic books, is actually all about. He's not so much about beating people up, even though he does that. Um, you know.
Yeah.
So then, as always, in Gotham City, we have the corruption, deep corruption at every level in this movie, and that kind of pits Batman, and we get James Gordon, Jim Gordon. He's in this, against the system. So you have like Batman and then a few good cops kind of fighting off the corruption in the system. We get a lot of that. There's some political intrigue as far as like literally political intrigue. Like there's actual like elections things going on and politicians getting involved in some political stuff. So that was kind of cool. And then there's the kind of as mentioned in the synopsis or the plot summary there. You have the connection with the Bruce Wayne and his family and how they kind of mix with the underbelly, and then kind of one thing that I want to say about that, and kind of my last thing as far as the plot is that this is very dark, and it's way more grounded than we've seen in any of the previous films. Something that with the Michael Keaton movies, they were very dark and stuff, but this was even more dark. Like this was like visceral dark. A good example is that they have the Iceberg Lounge because Penguin is in this movie, and in the comics and everything, the Iceberg Lounge is like this fancy hotel place where it's like a fancy hotel / club or whatever it is, and they have all this fancy stuff here. Here, the Iceberg Lounge is like a warehouse in the middle of the slums district, and it's very like there's homeless people outside of it and drug deals going on, and it's like there's prostitution, and it's like just a very visceral movie. Like everything is very dark, and it shows another side of Batman that we haven't seen in the film so much, but is in the comic books. So
Wouldn't you say, Mike, that this was? I think about the other ones, and this Batman is in the Batman outfit most of the movie compared to some of the others. Sometimes he's Bruce Wayne, but most of the time he's Batman. And again, he's like the Batman that doesn't smile. He's just really he's that dark. There's really no humor in the movie at all. So
no, right, exactly, and that's what we talked about. I think what movie we were talking about how nowadays a lot of these superhero movies and stuff, they kind of have a lot of joke characters. We did that in we talked about this in the last review, I think. But yeah, like a lot of movies nowadays have, like you have your superhero character. That's what we were talking about it in Dune. You have like your superhero character, your main character, and they'll be like serious. They'll kind of be like capable and professional and very good at their job and stuff. But then they also do like stupid joke stuff for the movie, for purposes of the movie. And here they don't do that. Batman does not mess around in this one. Like it ain't. He doesn't even in the Christian Bale movies. There were times when, like, I remember a particular scene where there's a homeless guy and Christian Bale gives him his jacket, and because the homeless guy says, "Oh, that's a nice jacket," so Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne, takes off his jacket and gives it to him, and then years later, Christian Bale comes back as Batman, and he's doing something, and he sees that same homeless guy, and he looks at him and he goes, "Nice jacket." And then he zips away. There's not even a joke like that. Like that's not even like a funny joke, but that's not here.
Maybe this is what we would probably goes back to the old school Batman. When it first came out, that kind of thought. The Dark Knight, really Dark Knight.
Yeah. This is the dark and depressed night. Yeah.
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 Dark chocolate.
No, exactly. So then let's if you don't have anything else to say about the plot, then we'll move forward with acting and characters if you're good.
No, I think it was, again, I'm very excited about watching the movie, and great plot.
Yeah. No, I think they did a really good job here. Especially like I said with the detective work. It's not an A to B plot. It's like normally the Batman movies are like here's what it is. They have the intro, they introduce the bad guy, and then the bad guy does some stuff, and Batman is kind of chasing them around, trying to beat them up and get them to the cops. Here we don't even know what's going on until the end. You're like, oh, what is this? So
it was the plot could be compared to a thousand piece puzzle,
Right.
and you've just dropped it out.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to put it together. It was not like you say. It's not A to Z, and you figure this out. This was pieces that were put
Mm-hmm.
together because you're going back and forth
Like a
all the time.
true mystery. So,
True mystery, right? True
yeah.
crime. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to actors and characters, I'm excited about the actors and characters because we've got some stuff to talk about here. So first off, headliner here, Robert Pattinson as Batman Bruce Wayne. Now Robert Pattinson, it was when I heard that Robert Pattinson was going to be in this movie, I was like, oh my lord, what are they doing? Because this guy is most well known for Twilight, which came out in 2008. He was also most recently in the movie The Devil All the Time. And this is what I put in my notes. I said, surprising casting. But man, does he get it right. I'm serious. Robert Pattinson has now solidified. I think that in the future now, like young kids now, teenagers are not going to think, oh, Robert Pattinson from Twilight. Young kids are going to think, Robert Pattinson, don't you mean that really good Batman? Like, this is like I was surprised. I thought that they were really going to mess this up, and then once the trailer started coming out and you saw what he looked like, and Robert Pattinson has a very thick English accent. Like English people who are from America, when I've listened to him, I almost can't understand some of the things he says, and then he switches his voice to the Batman, and he's like, yeah, I am vengeance, and I was like, oh my lord, this guy's got it, man. He has got it. So
That was pretty good. Yeah.
yeah.
But I felt the same way that when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, they got the guy from. I'm not a big Twilight fan.
Yeah.
But,
He's not either, though. To
when
Robert
he-
Pattinson's credit, he said that he didn't like those movies, and he only did it for the paycheck. Yeah.
Well, I hope it doesn't seem like he did this one for the paycheck. I think he did this one because he just was and it seemed like he was enjoying what he was doing. He did a great job. But yeah, great. I was with you. I was like, man, why did they pick him? But then it's like, I think they got the right guy.
Yeah. No, this was really good. So in this movie, unlike any of the other movies, so with Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, in my opinion, when I watched those movies, it was like a serious but silly take. Like you're still basically getting like this is a comic book movie, so when you see Batman fighting people and stuff like that, and you see the background, the world that it is, and George Clooney and all of them too, they all kind of look like comic book movies. Like they look like the city itself is a comic book representation.
Right.
And then Christian Bale came in and he kind of grounded it a little bit in reality. And but he was so those were a little bit cool but silly, serious but silly comic book type movies.
Yeah.
And then Christian Bale came in with the Nolan films, and they made it like Batman was just cool. Like he's grounded, it's in reality, and he is cool. Okay. I have one word to describe. If you told me narrow Batman down in this movie to one word, I have one word, and it's the only word, and it's by far the most descriptive word of what Batman is, and that is scary. Batman is scary. In fact, I'm going to put up a picture, and you guys are going to be seeing it right now. This picture perfectly describes what the Batman is. There's a scene where there's an explosion with a car, and there's all these flames, and you see Batman walk out, and the Penguin looks at the Batman from, this car crash that they're in, and this is in the trailers and everything too, and you see the flames behind a Batman's, and you're like, man, I would piss myself if I was a criminal seeing this guy. He has some lines too that back that up. Everything about him is scary. So he says, I am the shadows, I am vengeance. He has these lines where it's like, I'm not messing around. I'm gonna beat you down, man. If I catch you, all kinds of scary sounds and symbolism. Every time that you see Batman, in the very beginning of the movie, there's a scene where some people are about to rob some guy who gets off the train, and they stop because there's like some shadows, like a shadowy area, and they kind of stop and look over at the shadows, because what it is they see the bat signal. And it shows you it through a little montage. Every time the criminals see the bat signal, they kind of look around and they're like, "Oh, is he here?" And they do the same thing. They look at the shadows, and all of a sudden you hear. How do I explain it? It's like like Batman walking. Or maybe
It
it's
was
more.
it's the intimidation factor.
Yeah.
Once that light goes up, then you don't know where he's at.
Right, but I mean the sound though.
Yeah,
Batman walking out,
yeah.
he has like this boots, and there's like these big loud. I can't make the noise with anything I
He,
have around
and
me.
even
But
his boots were different than the other Batmans.
right,
I don't think I give anything away. And I saw them. Noticed them. I go, oh, that's some
yeah, I
serious
think they're
boots
steel
there.
toe boots too, aren't they? Don't they have steel toes? Like if he kicks you, you're down,
Al-
man. But yeah,
Almost
so
look like military.
yeah, as he walks out, you hear the big loud crash. You know what I think of it as? It's almost like if have you seen the movie Rogue One?
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the movie Rogue One where there's all these the rebels and it's dark and they're going through this dark room and then all of a sudden you hear and you see Darth Vader's lightsaber. That's the Batman. That's the Batman in this movie.
Yeah.
He comes out and he has the boots that make the loud crashing noise. He has the music that makes him. Every time you see him on screen coming out, it's dum dum dum. You know, like the ominous. There's the flames from the picture that I have up there. He looks so scary. Another thing too is that he's a little. So this is a younger Batman than we've seen. I kind of think of this as. If Batman were a little bit younger, he's a little bit more brutal in the fight. They have the video game series, Arkham video games, and in the Arkham games you see Batman in the first and second Arkham game, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. Batman is like the Batman that you would think of as either Christian Bale or Michael Keaton. He's maybe a little bit older. He's been Batman for a while. And you see him the way he fights, okay, is how we would be used to him. And then they have Arkham Origins, which is a video game about Batman when he's like just became the Batman. He's very young, and when you in the scene, the people that made that video game, they made it so that way when you see him fight, he's mean, like he's a little bit more brutal. Some of the attacks he does are stronger. He doesn't pull his punches, and I would equate where. That's the same as this movie. So in the Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, you see Batman and he fights, and the way he fights is like, hey, I'm Batman, I'm gonna fight, right? And then in this one, it's like he's coming to hurt, like he enjoys it. Almost.
Yeah, there's no discretion. There's
Yeah.
no discretion. He goes at it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely does some beat.
Yeah, and there's a scene where they say to him in the beginning scene after he kind of beats those guys up. Or no, it's before he beats those guys up. The guy's about to mug this guy from the train, and he punches one of them, and the guy falls down, and he gets down, and they say, "Who are you supposed to be?" And he looks at him, and he goes, "Bah, bah, bah," hits the guy 3 times, like just really is going at him, and then he looks at him, and he says,
"I'm vengeance."
and I was like, my lord, this guy, he wants to hurt people. Like he puts on his, when he sees that light in the sky, he's like, oh yeah, there's crime going on. I'm ready. I like just the way that Robert Pattinson captured the character. So
No, not to give away that scene, but I think there's something in there that's going to come more out of that scene with one of the characters. Just my thoughts.
Oh, okay, we'll have to.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But one less. Okay, so just real quick, we went through. I'm spending too much time on this character, but they did a really good job with him, so that's why I'm talking. But there's less Bruce Wayne. Kind of already said that. Spends most of his time as Batman. One thing that I thought was cool too is that there is a real character progression. So in the past, I'm going to keep going back to Nolan films because those are the most recent ones, and everybody kind of knows them. They were very successful. In the past, Batman in the beginning of the Batman movie, once he becomes Batman, is basically the same person as he is at the end. In The Dark Knight, he's the same guy in the beginning as he is in the end. I mean, there's some trials. In The Dark Knight Rises, there's a little bit of a progression, but here there's a real progression. And the best way that I can describe that is in the beginning he says, "Fear is a tool." That's just like a quote he says. And then he says, fear is a tool. And he's talking about the bat signal and all this stuff. And with this, I am the shadows and I am vengeance. And then by the end of the movie, he says, quoted, "Vengeance won't change the past. People need hope." And this is this is him kind of narrating, and he's talking about basically what he has learned over his time as being the Batman through the movie. So that was cool. It's a little bit of character progression from being like the younger, mean, angry Batman.
Right.
To becoming more of the more matured, skilled basically detective Batman that we're used
That's
to.
a good observation. I think that even some of the stuff that he, and I don't think we give anything away, but even some of the stuff that he does is makeshift. Even the bat signal's kind of makeshift too.
Right.
It's not. It's still being developed. I think we're seeing the evolution of Batman in this movie.
Right. Right. And I think that that's good. Whereas in the Michael Keaton and the George Clooney and all of that, they basically were already developed. And then in the Nolan films, all of that development happens as a little like 15 to 20 minute part of the movie. And then here it's like the whole movie is him. The whole movie is him basically level 1 Batman. The next movie he'll be level 2.
Yeah, so, well, we're getting This is a chapter that would fall in the Batman timeline.
Right. Right. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on Batman, but he plays the biggest role here, and there's a lot to talk about with him. We could probably go on and on, but okay. So the next character is we got Zoe Kravitz, who plays Selina Kyle / Catwoman. She's not called Catwoman in this at all, but we do see her. She has some like little ears on one of her outfits that she wears, but for the most part, actually, she has her face exposed. She doesn't wear a cap or a hat or anything. But she's most well known from Mad Max Fury Road in 2015. She's one of the wives of Immortan Joe. And then she was also in Kimmy, which we talked about having been made by Warner Bros. So Kimmy from 2022 is her most recent, other than this. So I would basically say... So I would actually say that there's not... Like, Batman literally takes so much of the space as far as the cast and characters that there's not going to be a whole lot to talk about as far as the other characters, but I will say that Selina Kyle in this is kind of that capable character behind a sexualized character facade, which is basically comic book accurate. She works at the Iceberg Lounge. She is basically a stripper / bar person there. She's all dressed sexy all the time. But really, there's kind of like behind those eyes, there's like that. She's actually the Catwoman. She's like a capable burglar / crime fighter type. So
she has her agenda, but she keeps her cards close.
Yeah, which is nice. A little mysterious thing.
Yeah,
mysterious thing going on there, and then she has her own motivations as to certain things that are going on, and she kind of butts heads with Batman / helps Batman, which is also kind of comic accurate as well. So if you're a big fan of the comics, I think definitely go see this. But yeah, other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to say about her.
She's Lenny Kravitz's daughter, the singer.
Lenny Kravitz. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike.
I saw that you don't see that name very often. I was like, I think that's her. I think it's his daughter, and sure enough, it is.
Other Mike, even though he's older than me, he's much more in tune with the music world of today. I'm into old school stuff, so. But okay.
I don't know that.
So moving on, though, we have Jeffrey Wright. He plays James Gordon, and probably one of the less controversial castings in this movie. When I saw it, I know if you know Jeffrey Wright, who plays James Gordon. He's most well known for The French Dispatch, which actually came out in 2021. He was and then most recently, aside from that, he was in the What If series with Marvel. He voice acted the Watcher, but then also he's in the Hunger Games series. He's one of the people from the Hunger Games series.
Oh,
and immediately seeing him, I was like, oh, I can definitely see where a lot of people said, oh, Robert Pattinson is the Batman. That I don't know if that's going to work. I saw this guy and Jeffrey Wright, and I saw, I could definitely see him being James Gordon. He has kind of that look of like a haggard, old guy, kind of worn out by the fact that he lives in this corrupt city and he's trying to be a good guy, and kind of he has some weight on his shoulders. So I thought that was a great casting. And like I said, so basically my two notes were great casting, and he's a troubled man trying to do the right thing.
He did a good. I thought he was a great Jim Gordon. I thought that. I thought like you. I thought, wow, he probably can do that.
Yeah.
But then when I watched the movie, I mean, it was solidified. I mean, he was a secondary character, but he did a great job in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Basically, again, all of these characters, like these are basically all of the main characters that we're talking about. We have 8 characters I want to talk about. These are all main characters, but again, Batman takes up so much that there's not so much to talk about, and it's not because the characters weren't done well. It's because I actually would say that it's because the movie was done well, focusing almost completely on what the Batman is doing, which is, I mean, the movie's called The Batman, so
It's from his perspective.
right.
It's
So
through his
yeah,
eyes.
unlike actually, now that you mention it, I will say that unlike some of the other movies we've seen where they kind of do scenes where it's following another character, you do not get scenes in this movie. I hadn't even thought about that until you just said that. You don't get scenes in this movie where you're following another character. Everything is from Batman's perspective. Yeah.
He's the one
Almost.
He's the one who's putting the pieces together for trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so yeah.
We get glimpses of other people, but he's the one trying to figure it out.
Right. No, I would definitely, I agree with that. And yeah, I think that it was done right. I think that was a good choice. So now I want to talk about a casting that I didn't even know this. I saw the movie and didn't know this. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the Riddler?
No, not the Riddler. No, because people knew who the Riddler was.
Are you talking about the Penguin?
The Penguin is played by Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell.
I didn't even look to see who it was.
Colin Farrell. You didn't know that it was Colin Farrell until I just told you?
I didn't know it was Colin Farrell. I thought it was some other character. I was like,
I know. I thought that, yeah. So Colin Farrell, best known for the movie The Lobster in 2015. He most recently did After Yang. Colin Farrell plays the Penguin. And I watched this movie and I had no idea who the actor was. And there's an article out now where Colin Farrell talks about he gives accolades to his makeup and costume people, because he's like, people did not even know that it was me. He does great acting here. The character is represented very well, and I can definitely tell you that this is a setup for later, because he's not the main villain here. He's more of a side character, but
right.
They definitely set him up and kind of introduce him to be something later. So I'm happy with this, and I'm excited to see where they take this character in the future too.
Right. He's warming up in the bullpen.
Exactly.
That's what I think. Yeah.
So I know the story through playing the Arkham video games. I'm not a big Batman comic book guy. I know a little bit, but through playing the video games, you learn the story of the Penguin. As far as, you know how the Penguin always has a monocle. So in the Arkham games, they explain that the Penguin actually he doesn't have a monocle. He has a glass bottle in his eye. And they explain how he was in a fight and somebody put the glass bottle, like, broke it and, like, put it in his face to stab him with it. And it got stuck there. Yeah, and they can't remove it because it's, like, on some nerve or something like that. So you don't see the Penguin. Well, so the reason I point that out is because so the Penguin's not the big crime boss. He doesn't have some of the certain features that you see in other movies and other media.
Right.
And it may be because that's going to come later. Like, certain parts of his character are going to come later, like, as far as, like I said, a setup.
He was a real criminal, and I guess kind of the Penguin was a nickname kind of for him.
Yes, I forget his
not
Cobblepot.
That simple. Yeah. What's that?
His name is I forget what his first name is, but it's like Oswald. That's what it is, Oswald Cobblepot.
Right.
And here he's presented as, like I said, a little bit more down-to-earth criminal, rather than being a guy who walks around with an umbrella that can shoot stuff out of it and stuff like that, like we see in the comics. But I think they did a really good job, and like I said, they set it up for sequels. So
the fact that you're more aware of who the character is than who the actor is, that says something about Colin Farrell. And he's done some great movies. I mean, this isn't really a major role for him, but he does a great job in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing I want to say is kind of when we talk about the blur, as far as crime noir, the blur between what is right and what is wrong, we see the Batman, like traditional police officers, we see the Batman, he kind of works with the Penguin. It's like he knows that the Penguin is a criminal, but he needs information from him, so he kind of tries to get some information with, like, works with him a little bit. Not really helps him, but, and then later on in the movie they kind of butt heads in a little. So sometimes they're butting heads, and sometimes the Penguin is actually helping the Batman here, which is basically, like I said, that's how cop work goes, man. That's the law. That's, and so that was pretty cool. That was like a realistic look at what detectives do, and that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely more of a detective in this movie. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You're right.
So now, moving on, we've got our last three. We have the big villain, and then some two side characters we're going to talk about. First, big villain here, Paul Dano, who plays the Riddler. Paul Dano is most well known for his role in the movie There Will Be Blood, and also most recently did The Guilty from 2021. There Will Be Blood was in 2007, by the way. I think this was great, and when I heard this casting, I was like, yes, that's the perfect guy. In this movie, the Riddler is different. Like you were talking about him being in other movies, and even in the comic books, I would say that he is not comic accurate, but that's okay because in the comic books, he's seen as a little bit more of a funny character, and in the movies, he's seen as just bombastically a joke almost. He does bad things, but he's clever and smart and stuff, but he acts goofy. Here, he is creepy. Like he is like serial killer scary. It makes me wonder. I looked up and I saw Paul Dano, and I was wondering. I was like, is he married? And I looked up his wife, and I'm like, I wonder if his wife is married to him because she loves him, or because he has her trapped. Because you see Paul Dano, and he plays roles like this. I wouldn't say that he's completely character acted, but there's some roles I've seen him in where he's like, it almost seems like he's a little bit not there, like mentally there's something wrong with him. If basically what I'm trying to say is that if there was a Hollywood Reporter article that and they found out that Paul Dano was an actual serial killer, and he had been murdering people all of this time as an actor, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, yeah, I can see it, because he did a great job with this. And he is, I think, the next best thing as far as like the Joker. Everybody praised the Joker from the Nolan films, and I would say that while it was amazing that Heath Ledger did, because he acted so differently than he has in previous films when he became the Joker, this was like going into this movie knowing that Paul Dano was the actor who's playing the Riddler. You knew what kind of Riddler you were getting because Paul Dano plays those types of characters. So.
Right. I didn't look and see who was the casting except for the main actor Batman. But when I saw who it was at the end, I'm like, oh, that was the perfect guy, because I didn't know it the whole way through the movie. I'm like, who's playing this part? And I didn't really want to know, like looking on my phone in the middle of the theater or something like that. But
right.
he was just really like, again, the Riddler character has not been like this in any of the Batman. And like you said, Batman was dark. The Riddler was dark too, cleverly dark, and just he did the riddles. And then and there's places where he has people in the corner, and you just like get frustrated with his power. He has his power. I mean, he's not a overcoming like physical character. He's the mind game guy that can beat you with his mental work, with his head, with his thinking, with his wisdom. So
so I wrote in my notes, a bullet point I put down here in my notes is it's Saw. Like, have you seen the movie Saw?
I haven't seen Saw. No.
So Saw is a movie, if you don't know, it's a movie where this guy, he's really smart. He basically traps people and then has them play through little almost torture games, and if they can win the game, they go free. And it'll be stuff like they'll have to crawl through barbed wire, and there's a barbed wire maze, and if you can figure out the way through the maze, you escape. But if you can't figure out the way through the maze, you get hung up on barbed wire and end up killing yourself. Stuff like that. Trapped in barbed wire. It's terrible, evil, just evil ways of torturing people.
Yeah.
That's what this guy does. Like when you see he does traps. And no spoilers, but you know what I'm talking about. There's traps and stuff he sets for people, and then ways that he murders people. Ways he murders people. It's like Saw. It's
he drops pieces of the puzzle.
Right, and he leaves little clues because he wants to be caught. Every serial killer, basically, there is a scenario where the Batman again, no spoilers, but there's a scenario where the Batman and the cops here could have been dumb and not figured it out, but he left enough clues for them to either figure it out or not figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Very clever character, very well done, great casting. I think that they knew exactly what they were doing when they made this movie.
Yeah, and a young actor too. I think they brought in some younger actors that are not as well. Some have had success, but
yeah,
I think this boosted his persona among actors. I think he's stepped up in this one, made him much more known and stuff like that. So
yeah. So I do want to say, we were talking about how we have actors that are playing parts that they are not, like, they're playing parts that they don't usually play. So we got a little bit of that with Robert Pattinson. He usually plays more of a drama role. He was in the Twilight movies, so everybody has this image of him. He was in the movie Water for the Elephants and stuff like that, where it's more drama. Here he's playing a really dark character. This next character, though, I was really surprised. I was like, wow, they got this guy. John Turturro. He plays Carmine Falcone. And if you don't know John Turturro, he was in the Big Lebowski movie where he plays Jesus. And he dresses in all purple and bowls, and he does a thing with his bowling ball where he always licks his bowling ball before he bowls. Like, he is, but he's most well known for Barton Fink. He's always a comedy actor. 1991, Barton Fink. He also plays in the movie The Jesus Rolls in 2019, which was an offshoot of the Big Lebowski movie, where it's just about his character from Big Lebowski. So he usually plays the dumb guy, and he's really loud. He was in the Transformers movies. He was really loud, dumb guy. Here he's quieter, and he's more serious. And but he really does a fine job. So he plays Carmine Falcone. He's kind of a crime leader. Like I said, real quiet guy. Kind of the guy that's, when they say like the most powerful guy is the quietest one. That's him in this movie. And this is what, and I said this to the other Mike here before we started this review. I said, now all we need is for Adam Sandler to play a role where he plays a serial killer, because that's this kind of thing. It's like, so I love it. It's so interesting when you see characters who are either really serious playing a comedy part or really comedy playing a serious part, and we got that here, and it was really interesting to see.
Yeah, when I saw him it was hard for me. This is one thing that was hard to me when I saw him when he came in as a character. Mm-hmm. I was like, it was hard for me to get away from him, all his funny stuff that he did when I was watching him. But he did a great job, and it was a great act. He played his role as Falcone, perfectly. But it's hard sometimes when you see somebody who's played like a funny role, and then all of a sudden they're playing, the serious role. I think the same, the movie Budapest Hotel.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, but yeah.
Mr. Gustav, I think, was the guy that was real funny in it, and then he ends up being in the James Bond movies, and I'm like, oh, and then he's in the movie with the British movie, I can't think of it. Where
the Kingsman.
The Kingsman. He plays that. He plays that part. And sometimes it was hard for me to watch that after watching Budapest Hotel, because he was so funny, and you're expecting jokes, and then he's being real serious, and it's hard. But hey, but the guy showed that he's not just a one note, guy or
actor. Yeah,
he could play different instruments as far as acting styles and stuff.
So I think that a good way to put it too is just like, if you only saw him in this movie, like if you never heard of him, never seen any of his stuff, never watched Mr. Deeds, the sneakiness. Yeah. So if you only saw him in this, you would think, there's no way that guy's a comedy. Like and then I told you like, oh, but he's a comedian kind of guy. You'd be like, no way, that guy's too serious.
Right.
This is what happened in Mr. Deeds. This is what happened after he gained all that money from Mr. Deeds. He went and became a crime lord in Gotham City.
Right. Well, Michael Keaton was kind of a comedy guy before he went into the Batman. And I remember when he became Batman, I'm like, Michael Keaton. Yeah. But he did, he pulled it off.
Yeah.
So I guess this is similar.
And he's going to be in the next one too. He's going to be in the Flash movie as the Batman. So that'll be.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So moving on, though, we've got Andy Serkis. So he plays Alfred, and he is most well known for everything that ever involved a CGI character. War for the Planet of the Apes in 2017. And then most recently he did SAS Red Notice in 2021. Yeah, if you don't know, Andy Serkis is Godzilla. He's King Kong. He's Smeagol. He's like literally every character that ever is mocapped. He plays in them, in all of them. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a good casting. I mean, that wasn't surprising that he played Alfred.
Yeah, so he has like a good screen presence, and he has the look. I think he's also English, or he's English or Australian. He has the kind of an accent, my understanding. But then, and I want to say it was an interesting casting, and I agree with you. But it was basically a cameo. Like so he's one of those characters where they play a large role as far as their effect on the story and what they mean and who they are, but not a whole lot of screen time. But the screen time he does get is really good. So it's
he didn't waste any of the time that he was given.
Yeah. No, I think he did really good.
He did great.
And he's just I think the most important part of casting a character like this is just basically that they have the right look and they have the right sound. Like if a character has to talk a certain way, so he basically had the right look and talked, kind of talked the same way, and then just as his celebrity of being who he is, you're like, oh, okay, I would like to see him. Like if they do another movie, it would be cool to see a little bit more of him, just because I'm like, I want to see what Andy Serkis can do with the character. So would you say with some of the characters there was risk? There were risky decisions, or they seemed like risky decisions, but with him, that was perfect. There wasn't really low risk with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think just a low risk. Yeah, because if you look like John Turturro. Let me see. John Turturro, Paul Dano, we said was good actually. Colin Farrell, Zoe Kravitz, those actors, and then Robert Pattinson. Those actors kind of taking the roles that they took here. Even Zoe Kravitz was a little bit more okay, like you can see it. But yeah, but especially Robert Pattinson, there's like a risk here, and then I would say with Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano, and then Andy Serkis, those were pretty solid. It seems like they probably the casting director was like, okay, we have all these characters that we don't even know if they're gonna work, and the actors may not work. Let's pick 3 really good. We know that even if these guys don't do well, these guys will. So yeah, and Andy Serkis was one, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it could have went south, but they had some good.
That's how you get the best payoff.
Good draft picks. What's that?
Yeah, no, just like you said, NFL good draft picks, and that's how you get the best payoffs, though, is by taking those risks. And so it was good to see. And a lot of Hollywood movies just don't do that. They don't take the risks to make. They don't take the risks that it takes to make great movies, and we end up with basically a lot of average movies. So.
Yeah, and like we were saying with the Matrix and stuff like that. It seems like they tried to redo it, and it just went kind of south. With this one, it still was Batman, but they took it to another level, and they went with the whole storyline within the storyline. I would say if you're going to look at the whole Batman series, so
right. No, definitely, I agree. Okay, so then we'll move on. If you got nothing else to say, we'll move on to
I'm good.
Miscellaneous. Okay, you're good. All right, so. Do you have anything that you really want to just throw out there? I've got quite a few points, but we'll go through them pretty quick. I'll go through my points kind of a little quicker, but take your time. You got anything you want to just miscellaneous?
I went and saw this with my wife. We have not seen a movie in a movie theater kind of since COVID hit, so this was the first time we got to see a movie, and it was in a movie theater, which was really fun because for a while we were seeing 2 movies every weekend. When we were in South Carolina. But my wife liked it. I liked it. I thought that this one of the things was the lighting in it. It was always dark. It was always nighttime when things were going on. There's always shadowy characters. I mean, it was just a whole different spin on Batman. I imagine it's probably more of an old school Batman DC Comics meets the 21st century, I believe. Yeah, 21st century. And just, I mean, there wasn't anything that was distracting in it at all. I mean, there's scenes in there, and I thought Batman was more makeshift
Mm-hmm.
than technical in the previous ones. I hope I'm not giving anything away, but I thought he was more makeshift, which made it exciting for me because there's some scenes where I'm like, what's he going to do now?
Yeah,
And
because yeah.
he does, I'm not going to say he does, but he does what I didn't expect, and
Right.
I was like, wow, that was awesome. Some of the scenes where he's
Mm-hmm.
up against the wall and stuff like that. So I think even the evolution of his equipment
Yes.
hasn't developed to the top skills it has been in probably in the Dark Knight Rises and those type movies with Christian
Yeah.
Bale. But
Yeah.
overall, great movie. It was great seeing it in the theater. I didn't feel like I was just. I had to get up one time to walk out, use the bathroom and come back. But I didn't want to get up and leave. I was like, oh, this is so awesome. I don't want to
Yeah.
leave. It was just great storyline. I can't wait till the next one because I think it's going to be another one just like this one.
Yeah. So I will say, as far as the equipment and stuff goes, I think that it seems to me like they kind of thought to themselves, what realistically could a real person in the real world do to overcome these problems? For instance, one thing that I always thought was dumb is that in the Batman movies with Nolan, basically in all of the Batman movies, we see Batman. He uses batarangs that are about this big. He's like this big, okay? Mike has a different camera, so his camera is actually over here, so I'm showing him too. He uses batarangs that are about this big, and he'll see him throw them. And you never actually in the Nolan films you don't see him throw them very often, but you'll see them like out of the shadows. You'll see him like hit something, and you go, that thing is so small that I don't think that if I threw it, it would actually go that far, and it doesn't look like it would do that much damage, stuff like that. So they thought, that's not real. Let's make a real batarang. Let's see how the real batarang would work. Let's see how the real, how you would really like Batman in the Nolan films. They have him doing certain things where like the Batmobile, like it's not very realistic that like the Batmobile in the Nolan films was really cool. Not practical at all in real life. For the Batman. So he does a different thing here, and we've all seen the Batmobile here. And I actually want to talk about it in my points here, so I'm going to save talking about it. But it's that kind of thing. So my first point. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try to. We are talking quite a bit. Here.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Our review's getting a little long, so I'm going to try to kind of go through these pretty quick. Again, stop me if you have anything you want to say, but I'm just going to go through these, okay? So here we go. First of all, I want to say that this is the worst, absolutely worst looking Gotham that we have ever seen. This Gotham this is like if you were to walk downtown Gotham when you get home, this is like when you want to take a bath and like scrub yourself until a little bit of skin comes off. I mean, it's like, this is like scary. So I went to my grandfather is a truck driver, or he used to be. He was a truck driver, and I used to go in the truck with him every once in a while. And I've been downtown Chicago, like downtown Chicago where people don't go, and this is worse than that. I mean, this is terrible. Like you would have an anxiety attack walking around downtown here. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
They really grounded this. And you said it's always dark. It's always the cinematography is always dark, which is a
dark
lot
and dirty.
Yep, dirty too. Dirty. It's not just dark; it's dirty, which is a lot like the comic books. The comic books were always dark. One thing I did like in the beginning of the movie is they kind of show all these little montage of like you see the bat signal, you see people committing crimes. You see what the city looks like. And Robert Pattinson, he does like a narration like they do in old school detective stories. So it's like, June 25th, it's dark outside, it's raining, I watch the people of the city going about their business. Stuff like that. He does like a narration like that, and it really sets the mood. especially with the music. They have that creepy, dark, mood-setting music. It really sets the mood for the movie, and you kind of are definitely kind of seated and prepared for what's coming. I thought, so that's like the opening part. Actually, the very first scene that you see when the movie starts is an amazing, excellently crafted scene of cinematography here. So you have an opening scene with a character, and this is no spoiler, but I'm just going to tell you it's the Riddler, and and so it starts off with, you see that you're from the perspective of the person, and it's looking through binoculars at somebody. And at first, I thought it was the Batman, but immediately you realize it tells you it's the Riddler, so that, not a spoiler. But just really great cinematography where he's watching people do stuff, and you're like, oh, this is like creepy. This is, very creative. It's like unique. It's just it's not so much about the movie, but just like the production of the movie. Very unique, very creative idea there, showing him watching his people, and it gives you that vibe of like a serial killer movie. Like if you took Robert Pattinson's Batman and took him out of the bat suit, and then took the Riddler and took him out of the Riddler suit, this would basically be a serial killer movie. Like you were talking about, even like the Zodiac Killer movie.
Zodiac Killer, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is like the Zodiac Killer movie.
And I think a good point on that, Michael, not to prolong anything, is that we have kind of our public figure, then we kind of have our like private figure, then we have that secret figure in our psyche, and I think that it goes into that secret part a lot in this movie. You see that what's deep, the layers within the human psyche, and well, of course with Batman, of course, but with some of the other characters we see a little bit of it, probably with the Riddler mostly. So
I do want to say another movie that I thought of with this is, have you ever seen the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Right. So I actually have not seen the whole movie, but I basically know everything that happens. I know the movie very well because I'm a film guy, so I got to sit down and watch the whole thing actually through and through. But it reminds me of that though, like Paul Dano being like this serial killer who really kind of thinks things through and does all these things. But unlike other Batman movies we've seen, I mean, Paul in the Riddler, like the Riddler here is a straight up murderer. Like he is a murderer with a capital M.
But he's enjoying it too.
Yes, and he enjoys it. Yes, and it's not infantilized at all. Like with the Joker, the Joker, they kind of make it almost like, hey, the Joker's kind of fun, and he's like a goofy guy. And even when he kills people, it's like, oh wow, could you just do? No, here it's like, no, you watch this. It's kind of like, I saw a thing with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was talking about jokes, and he said there's this joke that Hollywood movies do where you'll see a guy get hit in the nuts. And he says, that's not really a joke. When you see somebody get hit in the nuts, even men are like, they're like, ooh, no. That's this movie. Like, my point about it is like, while in other movies we'll see violence and we'll see people get hurt and we go, oh, cool, it's a movie. It's just movie violence. Here, this is not just movie violence. You're watching this and it makes you, like, you're like, ooh, that's, I wouldn't.
Right. And there's that enjoyment that Riddler has leading Batman,
and it's scary.
Then Batman's you feel Batman's frustration through the whole trying to figure it out. But I mean, he gets to a point he's frustrated. He's frustrated. I mean, through the whole thing. So
yeah. Along with that, kind of like what moving along with kind of what you were talking about earlier. You said his gear is kind of like makeshift. It's not like, it's basic. This is not like comic. So when we say comic book Batman, we're talking about the kind of the mood and stuff, but this is not like fantasy Batman with all kinds of awesome technology. But I will say that there was some technology and gear that is very realistic. You could see people doing some of this stuff today, but it's stuff that we haven't seen before in Batman.
Right,
and one of the things is he has contact lens cameras, so you'll see him. He throughout the movie. He'll walk around and he kind of looks at clues and stuff, and then later on he actually watches the recording of what he saw.
Right.
Which is, I don't think that we quite have that technology, but we do. But like you could kind of see where if it's a little bit advanced tech, it's realistic.
Right.
In this movie, no spoilers, but he does not glide like he does in the Nolan films. So in the Nolan films, it's pretty much unrealistic, and that's okay. But it is. Yeah. You see Batman, Morgan Freeman shows him, he's like, oh, this is what it is without an electrical current. Then when you put an electrical current, it becomes... Yeah, that's not realistic at all. We don't have the material in real life, but what he does in this is realistic. So what, kind of like what you were saying with his back against the wall, you go, what is he going to do? You know, he hasn't really shown that he has anything to deal with this, and then he does it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty grounded, and I like that. That was creative.
Yeah. There's no superpowers in this.
Right.
It's he's figuring it all out in his head. I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, and I will say, like you saying that makes me think of like Rambo. Rambo once said, in the Rambo movies, you know, Rambo, there's no super, it's a military movie, but Rambo says the greatest weapon is your mind, and that's basically true of this movie with Batman. His greatest weapon is not some piece of technology he's going to pull out of his his bat belt or whatever, his utility belt. It's what's up here. I do want to say, though, while we do have some, it's basically all very dark and depressing, we have some heartfelt moments. And I think that those moments that we see probably have more weight because of the darkness that you see it in. So when you have like very sad stuff, some of the heartfelt moments are not happy moments either. But I just mean like it really hits home because it's like we're in this dark world and maybe there's like, you see some connections between some of the characters, the way that they feel for each other, and you go, yeah, I can definitely see where that's has a little bit more power because of the environment it's in, rather than just being kind of a popcorn, fun film that's very like lighthearted. So
there's small sparks of hope in the movie.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I do want to say there's a comic book accurate relationship between Batman and the Riddler. Kind of gotten into this before. Basically, the Riddler, there's like riddles that the cops cannot solve, leading to more clues. So you'll see basically in this movie, like Batman will get the bat signal, he'll show up at a crime scene to help out. The cops are looking and they're doing this, and when I say like in the beginning of the review I said like CSI stuff, it's like there'll be like a white powder. This isn't in the movie, but I'm just saying, like, imagine the show CSI. There will be this white powder, and in the show CSI, these people are like, oh, what is this white powder? Oh, it's not salt, it's not sugar, it's not cocaine, it's not anything like that. And then some really smart guy will come in and he'll say, oh, well, because of the chemical composition of this thing, and then it mixed with this other thing over here, and then it made the white powder. That's the Batman. The Batman comes in, he's oh, that's this, and this is this, and this is how you use this, and he just kind of shows himself to be like the smarter, he's a better detective, he's the world's greatest detective. Mm-hmm. So you basically have the riddles the cops can't solve. Batman helps him solve them, and it really is the perfect serial killer setup for a movie. I mean, it's the perfect serial killer movie. If you, like I said before, even if you don't like comic books, but you like serial killer mysteries, go watch this movie. Then we have, as we kind of talked about, the Wayne relationship to the Falcone family, a crime family. It has to do with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's father, even in the comic books, he was kind of a political figure, and you end up getting involved with people, even if it's not that you're committing crimes, but just through association. You come in contact with corruption and things like that, and they kind of get into that a little bit, which is a little bit, I believe that's a little bit different than comic books. I don't think that part was in the comic books, but it really works here because, like I said, this is a darker world. Everybody's got their hands a little bit dirty. And like I said, even if it's not them committing crimes, just through association, basically even all of the characters have something.
There's some dirt on everybody.
Yeah, which is nice to see. That's a little bit more of a realistic look at the world.
Right.
Some other stuff. Okay, so the Batmobile. I remember when Mad Max Fury Road came out, and I walked out of Mad Max Fury Road with my wife, and I was surprised to see you walking out of Mad Max Fury Road with your wife at the same time. I was like, wait, you went and saw this movie? If you like Mad Max movies, the Batmobile from this is straight out of Mad Max. I'm going to tell you right now. The Batmobile, What, go on?
Yep, you're right. Yeah, it's very Mad Max-ish.
Yeah, it's basically, everybody's kind of seen it. If you watch the trailers and stuff, it's got like a jet engine on the back. Looks really cool. It was pretty cool looking at when I saw it in the trailers, or not the trailers, but they showed some like production photos of it. It didn't look the best to me, but then seeing it in the movie, it was actually pretty good, and the way that the movie is designed and a little bit more grounded. It's a pretty cool little Batmobile. I think that the movie had some really great pacing. About midway through the movie, they do the car chase, and after the they have like a car chase with the Batmobile. After that car chase scene, with everything that kind of comes to light and the mystery starting to come together. So basically in the movie they have like, you kind of have the rise and you're getting used to the world and it's introducing everybody. And then it starts to kind of go a little bit down as you're like dragging on a little bit. But then midway through, some stuff gets revealed and then you're like, oh wait, I'm in this, man. Like, ooh. And then for the rest of the movie you're like, man, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? How's this going to work? And I was basically on the edge of my seat for the whole time.
Yeah.
For the whole time.
That chase scene, I remember when that was happening, I looked at my wife, I go, this is so cool. I just thought that was the coolest chase scene. I think of any of the, I don't know if that's ever happened where somebody's being chased by Batman. I don't know,
no,
but I know
it's
that
always,
he's like trying to get away.
So there was in the Dark Knight, there was him and the Joker, but it was very short. It was actually the Joker being chased by the police. No, it was the Joker chasing police and Batman kind of intercepts, so it wasn't really like a chase scene. Okay. And then otherwise it's always been the Batman getting chased. So then basically, yeah.
It was that was a great scene. I remember telling my wife, I go, this is so cool.
Yeah,
that was just a cool scene.
And just like, so in the trailers, they show this scene, so it's in the trailers, no spoilers here. But you see the Penguin, and he says, "I get you," you know, and then it shows the Batmobile jump out of the flames, and that's when you get the Batman walking up, and you just see the look of sheer terror on the Penguin's face, and you're just like, yeah, man, you messed with the wrong dude. So then kind of I just have a couple more points. This is kind of the bad points, not, bad points of the movie. The Batman, Catwoman, I've said, quote unquote, not romance. It kind of comes out of nowhere. They don't have the most romantic they don't really have any romantic chemistry. And then at the end of the movie, they kind of allude to how they kind of liked each other and could have been together or something. And I was like, it didn't really ruin the movie. It didn't ruin the movie or anything. It just was like, nobody cares about that. Get out of here. Did you kind of see that? You kind of agree like that with what I'm saying?
Okay, so I really liked the movie, but if I was going to say one of the characters was a little bit a weaker actor than the others, I thought that the one who played Kravis, who played Catwoman, or well, supposedly Cat. There are some times I thought she might have been kind of the weak character in the movie, but she still was great. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I think there's some times there that there were some woke moments, I think. Just me personally.
I was just gonna say that's my next point. So the next point is there's just one very small controversial political statement made where excuse my language, I'm gonna bleep this out. But she says, "Let's take down these white privileged assholes," and I was like, that is not what this movie is about at all. I don't know why they put that in there. Basically, all the messaging in this movie is very, like, although there's literal politicians in this movie talking about stuff, basically the messages are all non-controversial. It's like, at one point they're talking about, like, restoring faith in our institutions, getting rid of corruption. Nothing about race or anything like that. And then she says that. I do appreciate the fact that everybody basically ignores that. That's not like a big point in the movie, but I was like, yeah, her character makes that statement kind of on an aside from my review of this movie. The actress also kind of said some political statements outside of the movie as far as when they were promoting the movie, and it's like, just get out of here. Don't do that. You're gonna ruin. That drives people off, and it doesn't help the movie at all. So I hope if anyone in Hollywood ever watches this video,
stop it. Get some help.
It could have been left out, and in the irony of it is the person she's saying it to is the one who's helping her. The one she's accusing is the one who is helping her. So
no, exactly.
Yeah, Anyways, that's it.
I would say that it doesn't add anything, but I would say that it also doesn't subtract very much from the movie at all. I think it's depending on your worldview, your perspective on life, how you look at things. You're going to either be somebody who goes, yeah, go get him. Or you're going to be somebody who's like, no, that's just kind of a misguided idea. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, then just my last 2 points here is we have a mysterious villain character introduced at the end. And no, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm just going to tell you that at the end, it is not a post-credit scene, but there is a mysterious character introduced. You don't see their face. They don't get a name.
Mm-hmm.
But it's done pretty well, and you want to check that out. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then post-credits, just as always with superhero movies, there's a question of post-credits. There's a post-credits thing, but it's not a scene. It's not a scene. It's just throughout the movie, you see the Riddler and Batman typing each other messages through a computer. There's like a post-credit scene of one last message being typed into the computer. It's not a big deal, but if you stick around to see it, it's there. So I don't know. Did you stick around and see that?
I think I had to step out.
Oh, okay. I looked it up. I looked it up online, like to see if there was a credit scene, and then after I saw what it was, I was like, I'm not going to stick around and wait for that. It's like 20 minutes of credits, so I left as well. But I do know, basically, it's just a little word. Well, actually, okay. Spoiler alert. Skip ahead to our final statement review score if you don't want to know the spoiler of the after credit scene. On the computer, it says goodbye. Like it just shows the screen and then it types goodbye, and that's it. That's the after credit scene. So, yeah, not a big deal. Okay, though. Let's get into our final statement and review scores. Like I said, we are getting a little bit long here, but that's okay. It's okay because you can't communicate complex ideas in short form. So, okay, so final statement review score. Let's have it. What do you think, other Mike?
So I always ask this is it's 1 to 5, correct?
Well, it's excellent.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so 5. I say we have a five fingered category system. We have excellent, above average, average, below average, and bad. So, give us your final summary and your review score.
I think the movie was a great movie. Had great characters, had a great plot. Great acting, great scenery. It blended well with the previous Batmans. It wasn't like a repeat, but it also made room for this falling into the Batman timeline. Mm-hmm. I really liked the movie, as well as my wife. We really liked it. We were pleasantly surprised how well it was done, and that the characters that they chose hit home runs, did great acting. So I think it was excellent.
All right. So other Mike says it's excellent. I will say this. Look, the thing is that we have all these superhero movies, and I said this when we talked about Dune. We have all these superhero movies where you have a really, you have like your super strong guy who has all these skills and stuff like that, but then when he comes in the camera, oftentimes there will be scenes where they just make a joke of him to make him stupid to entertain the audience. This one didn't do that with any of its characters. All of this was very serious. Any funny moments where people were maybe, like the Riddler, he kind of tells some like jokes, but they're really just creepy, disgusting things that he says. Not disgusting like the actual content, but what they mean, when he's talking about basically like murdering people, and he says his riddles, and it's all about stuff that'll make your skin crawl. So this movie is dark. It's very grounded. It's completely different than the Marvel universe. As far as a superhero movie, it takes some risks though. It really takes some risks, and I think that those risks really pay off. I was really, just like other Mike here said, it was really great to see the castings work out, even though they're something a little more odd than we would imagine, and different. So I also, along with being on the edge of my seat, all of that, along with being on the edge of my seat all the time, trying to figure out the mystery. One thing that I did, it did not that it ruins the movie or lowers my score in any way, but I did think that it kind of, at the ending of the movie, they basically have, like, the final finale is not exactly between the Riddler and Batman. It's about the machinations of the Riddler and Batman, and it was... I just was expecting something a little different. I wasn't disappointed, but I just expected something a little different, if that makes sense. But having said all of that, I do want to say, no, I think that this movie was excellent. So I'm going to give this 2 thumbs way up. Definitely go see this one. It's made a bunch of money. I think you told me earlier, like 260 million, right?
Approximately 200 million to make it, and they've made 400 million at the box office.
Wow,
which is,
look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really good. One last thing that I forgot to insert into the miscellaneous section here before we go is there is a person who lived in Louisiana. That's Hurricane Katrina. It was Louisiana, right? Okay. And this movie reminded me of him. I just remember sitting in the movie theater. So after Hurricane Katrina, so in the movie there's a natural disaster. We'll say that there's a natural disaster, and Batman kind of goes around and is saving people from this natural disaster. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't spoil anything. There's just the natural disaster. We'll say that. And it made me think of a man whose name was Master Commander. And I just wanted to give a shout out to this guy because they're making a movie, or not Master Commander, Master Legend. They're making a movie about it. And he was a guy who, during Hurricane Katrina, he would dress up in a superhero costume, much like Batman's actually, but he made all of his own stuff. He didn't look like Batman. He just had like a costume. And he got on a boat, a ship, or not a ship, not a sailboat. What do you call those boats that you, with the gas, like a lawnmower engine?
Just a regular boat, yeah.
Yeah. He got in a boat and he went around and he would break into people's houses and save them from Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm talking about. When you see what happens with Batman and how Batman is like saving people, it just made me think of that guy. I just wanted to give a shout out because as I was doing my research for the notes and stuff, I saw that they're making a movie about him. So that's kind of aside from the review, but I was just like, the ending of this movie and some of the things that happen, I was like, that's just like that guy. So anyway, just kind of a side thing. But anyway, so the movie, both of us, it's, and we don't always agree either, but 2 thumbs way up. This was an excellent movie, and I'm so glad that people are just to see some people take some risks. Definitely not a corporate Batman movie, but yeah. So that is all we've got today. Both Mike and I want to thank you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe, leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think of the movie for yourself. And tell us, hey, did you know, if you saw this movie, did you know that it was Colin Farrell? Let us know what you think. But that's all we've got, guys. I do want to thank you all for watching one last time here and just say, God bless you all and have a good day.